All right, so we're going to review chapter 13 before we get into chapter 14, which is all about gases. Hopefully, you remember some of this stuff from earlier in the year, so it should be a quick and easy review. So, first, we need to talk about the three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. And remember that they do exist due to what's known as the kinetic theory of matter, which basically says that everything is in constant motion, it's moving all the time. The difference between the three states is due to the fact that you have different ways that the particles are moving. In a solid, they're all locked together in position, they're just kind of vibrating and dancing around. In a liquid, they're able to slide past each other. And in a gas, then they're really far apart and they're going crazy, basically. So let's look at gases first. Collisions are what cause pressure. The more collisions you have, the higher the pressure. Remember that if you were to get in an elevator by yourself, you probably wouldn't bump into anybody. But if you get into the elevator with a bunch of other people, you're going to have a lot more collisions with the wall. Hopefully you wouldn't collide with the wall if you were by yourself, but you never know. And so the more collisions you have, the higher the pressure. That's why when you blow up a balloon, it expands because you're adding more and more particles to the balloon. Therefore, the pressure is going to go up. Okay, remember the conversion factors between gas units is 1 atmosphere equals 760 millimeters of mercury is equal to 101.3 kilopascals. Make sure you also remember that 1 millimeter of mercury is the same as 1 torr. So a torr and a millimeter of mercury are the same thing. If you raise the temperature, you're going to make the molecules move faster. Therefore, you're going to have higher pressure because you have more collisions when they're moving faster. It'd be like taking your bumper cars and dropping a V8 in them. They're going to go all kinds of crazy with lots more higher energy crashes. So you're going to have a lot higher pressure as a result. So we've covered gases. Let's move on to liquids. I just need you to remember the intermolecular forces are what cause liquids to be attracted to each other. Okay, and that's why liquids are the way they are, is because they do have an attraction. We're going to assume that gases do not have an attraction with each other, and that's why they're spread far apart and they have their own characteristics. Okay, I'm going fast through this because we already had a lecture on this. You can go back and look at that lecture if you need to, if you need greater detail. So just remember the types of intermolecular forces that we talked about before are London dispersion, dipole-dipole, and hydrogen bonding. Okay? In a London dispersion force, you have basically the traffic jam. That's how I like to remember it. There's lots of traffic in London, so the traffic jam may take place on the end of one of the molecules. So when you have a pileup of electrons, which have a negative charge on one end of the molecules, it's going to give it a temporary polarity. And so that in turn causes it in another molecule, and so you have an intermolecular force between two positive and negative ends of two different molecules. That's different from a dipole-dipole force in which you have a permanent polarity in the molecules, and so you're constantly going to have this intermolecular attraction between the positive and negative ends of the molecules. And finally, the strongest intermolecular force is the hydrogen bond. Okay, remember when it's bonded to phone, when hydrogen is bonded to fluorine, oxygen, or nitrogen, then you have a hydrogen bond in which the hydrogen is attached to the oxygen, the fluorine, or the nitrogen of another molecule. Review your phase changes. The most commonly forgotten are gas to solid, which is deposition, and that fusion is another word for melting. So make sure you know all of your different changes of state. Still talking about liquids, evaporation. Remember, that's different from vaporization, which we'll talk more about in a second. Evaporation only occurs at the surface of the liquid, where some particles get up just enough energy to escape and turn into a gas. It's like a party on the edge of a cliff. Okay, you're dancing around, and there's a barrier up, and some people that are right on the edge of that barrier might happen to fall over. Okay, because they get just enough energy to fall off the edge of the cliff. That's different from vaporization, in which everybody has enough energy and we're all jumping off the cliff all at the same time, which we'll see in a second. So, evaporation still takes place inside a closed container. That's called vapor pressure, the pressure pushing out. You may have walked down a grocery store aisle, the soda aisle, and seen that there's condensation on the top of the soda bottles. That's because that water inside the bottle is evaporating all the time and turning into a gas and then recondensing on the top of the bottle. Okay, so think of that desire to jump off the surface of the liquid, that desire to evaporate. That's known as the vapor pressure, or the pressure pushing out. And when that's equal to the pressure holding it back and keeping those things in a liquid, when it's equal to it and able to overcome it, then you have boiling, and you've now reached the boiling point. Remember that boiling does not mean hot. Okay, we took out the vacuum chamber and lowered the atmospheric pressure enough to where water could actually boil at, say, 50 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees Celsius, half the temperature required at normal pressure. Okay, normal pressure is 101.3 kilopascals, or 1 atmosphere. So when we say normal boiling point, we're talking about 100 degrees Celsius for water, or the the boiling point at 1 atmosphere. So finally, we have solids. Solids have their particles packed in an organized fashion. We call that a crystal lattice. Okay, so it's very organized, sort of interlocking, and one molecule is right next to another. If we break that lattice, that means we've given those particles enough energy to break free of their locked-in position, and so now they're a liquid. That's why it's called the melting point. Okay, when you get enough energy to break out of your lattice and turn into a liquid, you are at the melting point. Remember that ionic compounds, metals and nonmetals, have much higher melting points than molecular compounds, which are all nonmetals. Think of sugar versus salt. Okay, salt is an ionic compound. The sodium chloride ions are very tightly held together. You could not put that in a pan and melt it. But sugar has much weaker bonds in between its molecules, so you can actually melt sugar and make caramel in a pan at home. Okay, the attraction is much weaker. Remember that even though most solids are crystals, there are other forms. They're not all crystalline. We have what are known as allotropes. We looked at the allotropes of sulfur in that lab where we smelled for like a month afterwards. In the allotropes of sulfur lab. You have solid carbon. That's another example of an allotrope. Diamond and graphite, which is your pencil lead, are exactly the same substance. They just have different forms. Okay. Not all solids are crystals, though. Remember, like rubber and glass. Your desk is an amorphous solid. It doesn't necessarily have an ordered internal structure. So if we look again, just to recap, the 3 states of matter, solid is like they're all interlocked and they're just kind of jiggling back and forth a little bit, kind of like the freshman boys at a dance. They just stand on the wall and move back and forth and back and forth. And then the liquid is all kinds of crazy. They're still close together. They're like the sophomore girls, all over the place, but still locked in a bunch and just moving around the room together. And then the gases are like the seniors. They just want out of here. Okay, so the gases are all kinds of crazy. They're spread apart and moving on their way out of here. Get them out of here. Finally, we have the phase diagram. Remember that the phase diagram is that chart that shows the conditions of a solid, a liquid, or a gas. Remember what the triple point is and the critical point is, and make sure you go back and review those things. Okay, so that's our quick review before we move into the gas laws, which is up next in the next lecture.